IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we share the journey of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners.
Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories. Hope you're all well and keeping safe. On the podcast today, we have a returning guest, Amruta Dhalkar. You may remember her from a previous episode she had done covering Kolhapur in Maharashtra. So sit back and get ready as we explore another lesser known and lesser explored place in the Konkan region of Maharashtra. Let's hop onto the episode and find out more. So with that introduction, we'd love to welcome back Amruta Dhalkar, a very, very dear listener and a guest on a previous episode as well to the Musafir Stories. Amruta, thank you so much for agreeing to come back and welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be back. Thank you.
Thank you, Amruta. Thanks so much for being back, and for listeners who are listening to Amruta for the first time. Amruta did a wonderful episode on Kolhapur not too long ago, so we'll make sure we link that in the show notes as well, and you can listen to it. And Amruta is also a museologist by occupation. So Amruta, why don't you give a quick intro, because the intro I gave was pretty much based on your previous appearance here. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, please.
Hi, I am by profession museologist and archivist. I do design museums and I tell stories through museum and archives. And now I do research around the corporate history, business history, and I try to tell the stories or business histories out of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much again, Amrita, and really, really looking forward to uncovering and exploring some exciting new places with you. The episode on Kolhapur was such a delight, both for me personally as well as very, very well appreciated by listeners. And a good chunk of our listeners also happen to be from Maharashtra. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you where you're going to take us to today. So last time it was Kolhapur, and what will it be this time, Amrita?
We are not going far from Kolhapur. We will be going to Sawantwadi, which is in Sindhurga district near the coast.
Okay, wonderful. Looking forward to this. For listeners who may not be very well aware of where exactly this is located, can you give us a quick geographic orientation to us to where Sawantwadi and the Sindhudurg district in general is?
Yeah, sure. So Sindhurga, basically Sawantwadi shares border with Goa, and everyone knows now Goa. It is the southernmost district and place on Konkan, in Konkan area in Maharashtra. At the one side, it has Western Ghats, which we call locally Sahyadri in Maharashtra, and on the other side there is Arabian Sea.
Okay, wonderful. And in terms of getting to Sawantwadi, is this well connected, and like ideally would a quick road trip be the best way to get here, or do you prefer train? Like how did you explore?
So yeah, you are very well connected with Sawantwadi. It is very like 10 kilometers away from Mumbai Goa highway. So you can go by car or you can opt for buses. There are ample of buses connecting Sawantwadi to Panji, which is Goa's capital, Pune, Kolhapur, and Mumbai, which are like major cities where you want to probably transit from. Also, Sawantwadi has a railway station, and most of the Konkan railway trains stops at the station. So that is one option. Other option is you can also go there by air, but you will have to probably opt for Goa airport, or there is a new airport in Trippi which is nearby. Probably 1 hour away, 1.5 hour away from Sawantwadi. So all the options are open.
Okay.
Also, you can drive down from Kolhapur to Sawantwadi. So it's very well connected.
Okay, wonderful. And in terms of or in terms of a good time to visit there, when would you suggest visiting Sawantwadi?
Oh, can I be biased here? I do want to say all the time. Well, the cautions are there, which I'll illustrate and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
But of course, people won't mind me being biased here because you can go in summer because you can eat mangoes. And that's not all. We will explore what cuisine later on. You can go in rainy season because it's beautiful. People usually prefer going in rainy season via train because there are so many streams that you can see, especially Vista Dome coaches. If you can opt for it's beautiful journey. Of course, there are cautions if you're driving or if you're riding a bike. I would say take proper precautions and do not venture much in rainy season to drive. But train is the best option. And December is of course like pleasant. It's not too warm. It's not too cold. So it's average temperature. So I would say all around the year.
Around the year and very well covered off the full or all the seasons there. But yeah, I think also the other benefit is like monsoons and just after the rainy season, like you mentioned, right? Maharashtra in general,
Yeah.
like it really has like a different form itself, right? It feels like a different place altogether. So
Yeah.
it might be a great experience to actually travel and like make a couple of trips at different times of the year also, and you'll have very different experiences too. So thank you for covering that off. And just in terms of the background for Sawantwadi, right? Like again, like I said, I wasn't very well aware of a lot of things about Sawantwadi, and the first time I looked up, it seemed very interesting that this is place with a royal family, the land of arts and culture, and all of those things are the ones that resonated first wherever I looked to do the research. So, would you mind giving a little bit of a background about the place as well?
Sure. So, as I explained earlier, Sawantwadi or probably adjacent areas or adjacent tehsils are flanked by Sahyadri or Western Ghat and Arabian Sea. So it's traditionally or historically heavily guarded area. If you look at the coastal side, there are famous forts like Vijayadurga, Sindhurga, and some probably less explored forts like Sarjekot, Yashwantgarh, Tirikol. If you see at Western Ghat side, there would be forts, like numerous forts. I wouldn't be even able to take all the names, but
Yeah.
probably like Manohargarh, Mansantoshgarh, and so many. So this area was
Yeah.
heavily protected. People wanted to be here because if the area is very peaceful, if the area is protected, then it's easier to establish your trade route or even the link station in between your trade routes. So if you see why Portuguese wanted to be in Goa, also this is the area from where trade routes were passing or around trade routes were passing by. There are good natural ports where you can dock the vessels, you can unload the ships, and it's very easier. So people wanted to be here. There are some interesting facts about Vengurla we will explore later on. But but yet, having said all these things, given all this very busy history, the place is still very quiet, green, lush green, and it's like all around the year it's green. So there are some natural wonders here. There are some natural heritage as well. When we speak of heritage, we just speak of our festivities or culture or museums. But this is the district which also gives you natural heritage and water heritage, which is very interesting. So this is kind of the history, and that's why the royal family, which is here, have very interesting history. Since the culture is very vibrant here, so their patronage and the stories are really interesting.
Okay, very interesting. And by the first looks of it, it looks like the royal family here is known as the Savant Bhosle family, right? And originally
Right, right.
they moved here, I guess, in the 1500s from Udaipur, and they started out as the feudatories, you could say, of Adil Shahi, Adil Shah's the rule, right? So they basically started off under them and slowly established their own independent kingdom there. Do you want to talk a little bit about the royal family as well as some of the structures you could see within Sawantwadi that belong to the royal family?
Yes, absolutely. The very interesting facts is though you see the name of kings in Sawantwadi, Sawantwadi was laid by very strong women, which is unexplored part of a history, and you will see the reflection of that in few of the names of the famous architectures in Sawantwadi. Also, there are I already talked about the history. When you're flanked with power centers, like there was a Portuguese power center, Britishers were also coming and trying to capture the area. There were Marathas which were in Kolhapur Gadi or Satara Gadi. You are totally surrounded by these power sectors, so you at times act as a buffer stage, and you also try to stabilize the area. You also try to bring in the peace, and it's a difficult work that you can achieve by diplomacy, and these women did it. I mean, a few of the kings signed the treaty, and probably they couldn't survive, but their wives took on the treaties and kept the peace in that area. So this history, when you visit the palace, you have to remember that there's a strong, very strong women presence, rulers presence in this area. So when you enter into the Sawantwadi, at the heart of Sawantwadi, there is a Sawantwadi palace, and the Leicester Gate actually welcomes you to the Sawantwadi. Leicester was one of the regents, and he was helping with the administration, and his name was given to the gate. And I guess that gate was opened in around 1885 or something, around that time, if I'm not wrong. So it's a laterite construction. So if you go in the Konkan region, you will see that the stone is very porous, and it is very needed in such a humid weather. So entire palace construction is done in laterite, and it is very much evident if you go and see. It's all red and white.
Yeah.
So there's this color called geru, which is kind of red oxide color, and at times they color the entire palace. Used to probably, or the houses they used to color with the geru or cow, locally called as, but it's a red color. And then they used to make beautiful design with tuna on it. So it's a red and white combination that you can see all over. So basically, the palace has three segments. One where currently the royal family lives in, so the private quarter is there. Then the other one is Darbar Hall, and adjacent to Darbar Hall, there is a museum, and behind all these three complexes, there is a Tai Sahib Wada, which is now being converted as a boutique hotel. So almost all the places at different level you have access for.
Okay.
So we can start basically from Darbar Hall. It's really beautiful. There are stained glasses. There's a chandelier. The ceiling is amazingly painted, the geometrical patterns on the ceiling, the tile work is also amazing, and they have made sure that the whole thing is in sync. It nothing is going independently, though these things are independently also beautiful. They match beautifully with each other. There are stained glasses, so if you're going around 3 o'clock, or let's say in the morning, you can see the color light coming in. Then there in the Darbar Hall itself, they have a little exhibition. They have some family portraits, and the throne, the Gadi is also there. Then there are few weapons that they have exhibited, but you will be totally lost in the beauty of this Darbar Hall. Like the chandelier, the shimmer, the regality of that chandelier is just amazing. In the same Darbar Hall, actually, you will see artists painting Ganjifa, or they're doing their art practices. Late Rajmata Ji Satvashila Devi Bhosle, she was artist herself, and when she came to Sawantwadi, she saw this artist, she saw this art form, and she was pretty inspired by it, and she decided that I will give patronage, I'll revive this art, I will look after that there would be carriers of this culture, this skill set, this art form. So she herself learned the art. She started practicing. She gave a platform to the artist until the date. Family is also taking ahead that tradition. And so you will see people are painting Ganjifa. Ganjifa is basically it's a playing card set.
Yeah.
At times, the way we have card numbers from 1 to 10, and then there are four other cards, colorful cards. Similarly, if you see the Indian tradition of Dashavatar, it also has a number denomination, and as well as the character attached to it. So interestingly, these characters are used in the play, so you can explore that. Also, there are some designs which are very pertinent to this place of Ganjifa, because Ganjifa tradition is there in Odisha also, in some parts of Tamil Nadu also, but this particular is very local and native here. So it's a feast in itself. You can see the art, which was like 100 years old. You can see the paintings, you can see the floor, you can see the artist painting live art sessions, and you can also on request take part and do the workshop with the artist as well. So that's the first segment of palace.
Yeah, also very interesting, right? Obviously, Sawantwadi and Ganjifa, you could say almost one of the first thing that comes to mind when somebody looks up or hears about Sawantwadi is Ganjifa, right? And it has a very interesting history
Right.
also. Apparently, it came into India through the Mughals initially, right? And has its roots I guess, from Persia, right, from that part of the world. But slowly, it's also so beautiful to see how it's been adopted, and then almost like you mentioned, the Shavatar is one of the forms of the Ganjifa.
Indianized as
Yeah,
well.
Indianized version, right? Yeah, so that's so beautiful to see, like how it's been taken, adopted, and then Indianized also so beautifully. Very, very colorful cards, the circular, rectangular, and also even that box in which these cards are stored. That is also very, very beautifully done. It's not like raw and rough or anything like that. Almost miniature art form, you could say. It's been done so beautifully and very colorful too, right? All of these the different things that you see, for example, in the Shavatar version, it's different incarnations of Lord Vishnu that you see on these cards, right? So, playing wise, I
Right.
think it's a different
Right.
ball game that it's probably a little more complex and complicated. You have to learn, but just the look of it and craftsmanship that goes into it, it's really, really beautiful. So I'd urge people to quickly check out, even through pictures. We'll also try to link some beautiful articles and images of this art form, but something definitely worth checking out. And I believe you're also able to order, right? They you can, like, made to order. You
Yes.
could basically place order here by either calling in, or if you're visiting, obviously you could just place an order there, and you get it. It's sad that the art form almost died early 1900s or so,
Hmm.
but like you mentioned, Rajmata was able to revive this, and now it's again become like almost like part of the identity of Sawantwadi. So thanks so much for calling that out.
Yeah. The next segment which we will go is the right adjacent quarter of Darbar Hall. This royal quarter was earlier administrative office. It was adopted for the use. Later on, administrative offices moved out of this quarter, and now it is adapted uh, in the museum, in the form of museum. So you can explore the museum on request. Actually, they at times they guide you through, and they take you through who's who, and what is their contribution. So there are royal portraits, there are vintage photographs that will take you through the history of Sawantwadi, the coronation images, the portraits of kings and queens. Along with that, their dignitaries and the way I say their causes. You can see certain photographs from their social events. Then, very importantly, Sawantwadi royal family is very well connected with the art side, with the culture part of the town or the bit. So the king and the queen, the earlier king and queen, Rajmataji Satvashri Devi Bhosle, as I mentioned, were artist herself, and her husband also was artist. Her brother, who was once the king of Baroda, he was artist. So you will see their canvases in the same museum. Both of them had very different style, and their paintings are exactly shown in front of each other, so you can see like two artists actually conversing with each other in their own language. So it's very beautiful. There are few anecdotes which probably these erstwhile kingdoms, beauty or regality, the few artifact shows and few artifacts people have brought from their houses. People as in the royal queens have bought from their maiden houses. So you can see this amalgamation of beautiful collection. And of course, there is Ganjifa. There are a few old sets of Ganjifa you can see here. So yeah, this is the museum.
Quite wonderful. Yeah, it looks like there is, obviously, depending on your interest and all of that, you could easily spend a good amount of time exploring the Rajwada or the Sawantwadi Palace, like it's known, right? There's a lot of different things
Yeah.
to explore as well. And right opposite to the palace is this Moti Talav. Is that what it's called? The little lake in front?
Yes, Moti Talav it is. So as I was saying, if you climb up in the museum, in the first floor, there are some galleries, and those galleries actually open towards this very serene view of Moti Talav, and in the backdrop there is Narendra Hill. So Narendra Hill is basically believed as the earlier seat of the Sawantwadi royal
Right.
family. So you can actually sit in the palace and look at Moti Talab and the hill itself. So Moti Talab was also built like it's a man-made lake. Of
Right.
course, they have found the location which is suitable where they can create the lake. But it's a medieval water body that they had created. It used to earlier, I think, used for drinking water and other purposes, but it's a very serene thing. If you go in the courtyard or if you go in the front yard of the palace, there are coconut trees planted all along the fences, and through which you can see this Moti Talab. Also, you can, while exploring the city, you can walk around Moti Talab. It's a very beautiful and it's very famous spot for Savantvadikas in the evening to go and chill, hang out around.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. Yeah, kind of. I was actually going to get to that as well. Like once you've explored the Rajwada and the museums and art forms within, as you get out into the city, into the town of Sawantwadi, what are some of the things one can check out, one can explore within the town?
Okay, there are two, three things that probably people will definitely see. Like, it needs no explanation after seeing the bazaar scenes that Sawantwadi is famous not only for Ganjiba but wooden toys, the lacquerware.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's a huge culture in Sawantwadi. Earlier, there is this street called Ubha Bazaar, which is actually the street leading on top of hill, and all the shops which were commissioned earlier by the royal family are jutted or flank the street. So you can explore these areas, and there are very few though, but there are few karkhanas around this where the lacquerware is made. So you can go and explore and ask localite if you can see it, and they are very welcoming people. And if you hear them speaking, the sound of Malwani is really sweet. So that way you can explore this bazaar. Now there are so many new additions, and of course they are updating their game with new styles of woodwork, new styles of toys. But earlier, when I was younger, they used to make this wooden bhatukli. Bhatukli is basically a traditional kitchen set, which is entirely made out of wood and painted in very bright, beautiful colors.
Uh-huh.
And I remember people, my father was posted once upon a time in Sawantwadi, and I remember every relative who would visit Sawantwadi and Bazaar will definitely have two or three sets in their hands, and they're like, I'll take this for my loved ones. And those are very
Yeah.
dear memories. So, definitely that's a must visit. You can still get the old versions of it. Also, the fruits, there are fruit plates, and
Yeah.
that holds a different significance. The Ganpati festivity is very huge in Sawantwadi, and there's a tradition that we keep various sorts of fruits in front of Ganpati. And also, probably that symbolized in some sense, and people started making wooden fruits,
Yeah.
and those are like actually look alike,
Yeah.
and they hang it near the Ganpati mandap, which they create in their houses. So, that is another wooden toy thing which people want to explore. And then, of course, the street itself.
Yeah.
So when you're exploring the street, if you start walking upwards on the street, you will see there are wooden doors, wooden door jams, which are old, and there is, like, you will have to peep through, you have to request people whether I can come in your shop, whether I can see this door, but people are welcoming. So if you go and see, you will see amazing woodwork on these door jams also. So I think this wood carving is in genes of Sawantwadi, which you
Yeah.
can explore.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, right, personally, because I've been mostly in and around Bangalore, right, in Bangalore. For me, it reminded me
Yes.
of this place called as Chanpatna, right? It's not too far from Bangalore, and that is also very popular for
Yes.
wooden toys. So it reminded me of that. And yeah, to your point, the fruit basket or the fruit plate, it's very, very unique, and I think it stands out. Like a lot of people, wherever I read, they mentioned that almost looks like it's real. That's how good it is. And even this
Yeah.
area, right? I believe it's called as the Chitarali. I don't know what it means. This maybe the name of the street or the locality, but apparently that's the locality where all of the Chitaris or the community that makes these
Right.
toys, right? The wooden toys, they are based out of.
Yeah.
And the Ubha Bazaar, is that how it's pronounced? Right, the market.
Yes, Ubha
The
Bazaar.
Ubha
That's
Bazaar.
the same street which I was, yeah,
So
talking
that
about.
one is almost like vertical, right? It's a vertical market, I think they refer to, because it's
Yeah,
uphill.
right. So Ubha literally translates in Marathi as the standing one.
Yeah, yeah,
So the street is that vertical that they
yeah.
started calling it Ubha Bazaar.
Yeah, so quite the place to be. It has like a very busy feel to it, but yeah, it's surrounded by a lot of these very beautiful small shops that have all of these different wooden toys available, and definitely pick something up as a souvenir if you're visiting the place. I believe it's also like, I don't know if they have the GI tag, but at least there was an application for a GI tag for the wooden toys of Sawantwadi too. So
Yeah.
alongside Ganjifa, it's definitely one of the other art forms that's very, very popular in the region, right?
Yes. The region is full of art and artists of different sorts.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So make sure you check out the old markets here, as well as pick up some wooden toys for yourself and also for your loved ones, like Amrita mentioned. So from here, what else do you think we could explore while in Sawantwadi and exploring the region?
So Sawantwadi is basically like it's a bowl, and the Moti Talab is literally like a bowl surrounded by mountains. So there is this Narendra Hill, which I earlier mentioned was seat of, or the real gadi of, the royal family in Sawantwadi. And also road towards the railway station is also very beautiful, and there's a sanctuary. So if you are a bird watcher, or if you're interested into trees and jungle, and if you want to do some trails, definitely this is a go-to place.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, for somebody who wants a bite of nature, that is also an option. You could indulge yourself in some trekking or exploring of these trails that you mentioned. And even in and around Sawantwadi, right? Like we were chatting before the recording, there's a lot of very interesting places. Like obviously, Sawantwadi is a small town, so you may want to mix it up with things to do or places to see in and around the region too. Do you want to call out some of those places in the vicinity that might be of interest, Amrita?
Yes, so if you're interested more into art, then I would highly, highly recommend Chitrakathi. There is a very small village on Mumbai Goa highway named Pinguri, and there is this community called Thakar community, which earlier used to travel town to town and probably village to village, and now settle down in this vicinity. So the descendants of Thakar community are still carrying forward the legacy of Chitrakathi. So basically, Chitragathi is it's a traditional painting which narrates various stories from our traditions, and people have their unique musical instruments with them, and they will sing, and they will tell you a story along with the painting, which is Chitrakathi. Chitra is basically painting, and Kathi is story.
Right.
So all forms like visual and music coming together and telling you story. It's sort of entertainment as well as telling you a moral story. So it's really beautiful. There is this small museum on Mumbai Goa highway, which is Thakar Adivasi Chitrakalangan. So you can visit the museum. The person who is basically leading the museum recently was awarded with Padma Shri. So
Uh-huh.
Padma Shri Parshuram Gangavne, if I'm not wrong with his name.
Yeah.
So he's the one, and his actually sons are also carrying forward the legacy.
Yeah, it was also very unique, right? Like you mentioned, basically an oral storytelling tradition which uses both song as well as the paintings to support it. And the paintings, these handmade paintings, are basically what are the Chitrakati part of the oral storytelling tradition. And another interesting tidbit I saw about this piece is also the Thakur community, like you mentioned, right? The community that's actually being carrying forward this.
Mm-hmm.
They actually acted as spies. The community was also assisting Chhatrapati Shivaji as well as the Sawantwadi Bhosles later, because they would go around storytelling and they
Yes.
would go around collecting bakshish and all of that. And as a part of that, they would also help the ruling kingdom as spies. So if there was anything going on internally, they would help avert or pass on that information to the ruler. So that way also they were doing some very interesting work. So that bit too came
Yes.
out as a very interesting aspect of this community of artists. But like you can say, like you can have another life as well besides the art form they practice. So yeah, overall very very interesting. And this museum, you should definitely believe there's over 1,000 paintings that Parshuram Gangavane and his sons are actually hosting. And I believe this was like a cowshed previously, like they had gone into that almost that level of disuse that there was no way to conserve and preserve this art form until Parshuram Gangavane and I guess even his father before him, they took it up on themselves and converted this cowshed into a museum, and they started accumulating and preserving these paintings. So really really some interesting and inspiring stories to uncover here as well. So yeah, a total dreamland for somebody who's interested in arts and culture. So definitely make sure to check out all of these different art forms. And moving on from the Chitrakati paintings, anything else you'd like to call out, Amrita?
Yes, there's in the nearby vicinity on the way on towards Vengula side, we go to this temple in Aravali village. It's called Vetoba Temple. So Vetoba is a local deity and believed is assimilated into the Shaivite tradition. It is believed that he is god of demons, not in derogatory sense, but with lack of better word, I'm saying translating it into
Uh-huh.
probably he's protecting his town and he's protecting the vicinity around. And why this temple is interesting because it's a Mangalore tile roof. It's unlike any other temples. There is a very amazingly built well in the vicinity of the temple. But what attracts your attention is the hip and hips of Kolhapuri chappal in the temple. So people or devotee who would come here would offer Kolhapuri chappal to this deity Vetoba, and it is
Yeah.
believed that he walks till the towns of Belgaum. I mean, devotee, of course, lovingly believe that he walks, and for that he needs like this devotee
Chapel.
give
Yeah.
him
Footwear.
Kolhapuri chappal. So again, here's the connection with Kolhapur. But
Yeah.
this is really interesting. I mean, India has a huge tradition of different sorts of offerings, but
Yeah.
here you're offering Kolhapuri chappal. Um, at the same time, if you explore this heap, you will see the history of Kolhapuri chappal visually there, the changing patterns, the changing strips, the changing shades of material. So, in a way, going to this temple is no less than a museum. I would want to say,
Yeah.
but it's a very interesting tradition. I would suggest if you have time to explore. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. Like I think the resource you shared that mentioned, right? There's like almost like 300 years worth of evolution of the Kolhapuri chappal you can see in the temple, right? So that way also it's very very interesting. And all I can say is it reminds me of that song. I don't know who's, but a movie had the song. It happens only in India, right? There was a song. So
yeah.
I guess only in India can you see such a literally a diverse range of customs and traditions and art forms and everything. And the Vatoba temple and the offerings there are no different. So continue to surprise as every day. And where next to from Vitoba?
So, as you said, people would want to create a space in between and they would want to travel. So, these places are very well connected with local state transport buses. Every now and then, every 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you have bus from this town to that town. So, basically, I'm talking about Vengurla, Sawantwadi, Kudar, and Malvan, these areas I'm saying. So, and these are not far from each other. Like max 2 hours distance, and you are in another place
Okay.
with the local transport. But you can also avail to stay on the coast, like literally on the seashores. So there are very upcoming places now. There are so many beaches around, so they and very less explored, less crowded. So if you don't like crowd and if you want the entire beach and tranquility to yourself, and you're going to keep the beach the way it is without messing around, so there are good options like Nivti, Bhogave, Devbag, Tarkarli, Mochimad. These are also now like there are small places where you can stay around these places and then commute to these places where you want to explore. So from here, probably we'll go to Vengurla since we have talked about the coastal area. This is a small town on coastal area, but as much as it is famous for its serenity, its greenery, its coastal line, um, at times the fact will astonish you that once upon a time, the Dutch East India Company, had their factory in Vengurla. Because basically this is a very peaceful region, this is heavily guarded, as I had earlier mentioned. People wanted to be here because this is a safe place for their trade route, trade links, or anything. So people were even Britishers were trying to come in this area. There are Nivti rocks which are famous, and if you are adventurous enough, if you want to do a little adventure, you can take the boat from the Vegula or Nivti area to these rocks and go and see the lighthouse. So Britishers did experiments on different rocks. So basically, these are the entire coast from Vengurla to Malvan is a rocky coast. So I would highly recommend going with the localite. Don't adventure on your own because you wouldn't know where is the rock, and you wouldn't know what is the situation of water, whether it is rising water or not. They are well versed with the waterways, so it is better to go with localites. But of course, you can explore these adventurous places as well. So when you are in Vengula, you can probably stroll around this Dutch factory. Now it is not really in good condition, but at least one can see how it is and how it was. And you can explore these areas and lighthouses nearby.
Yeah, there's also a very popular Ganapati temple, I think, in Vengurla that we covered. It feels like ages ago now. It was about 5 years ago when we did a episode on a road trip from Mumbai to Goa. I know it was mentioned that there's a popular Ganapati temple that a lot of people flock to in the area. But yeah, like a very offbeat sort of a town, but there's interesting places as well, like this Dutch factory that Amrita was mentioning, as well as the rocks too, right? Very unique in nature, and it almost like appears like some sort of prehistoric animal or something, right? Just the different formations and stuff like that. So very interesting. So definitely make sure you can check it out. And yeah, obviously, if you want to spend some time here in the quaint surroundings, that is also definitely an option. Cool. So having spent some time in Vengurla, and obviously, depending on your taste, you have a variety of things to do. Anything else in the vicinity you'd like to call upon, Amrita?
So, as I mentioned earlier, there are small forts here. Probably those served as a post for the military to guard the place or something like that. So, there is a Nivti fort in the vicinity. It's a small trail that people can opt for. So, that is one place. And then we can move a little north on the coast itself. Then there is a beach, Malvan Beach, which is very famous for the Sindhurga fort. As we mentioned, the Rocky Beach in 1664, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj spotted this place and he decided that he will build a fort here.
Yeah.
And that is very famous and strong fort, and still it is like living the testament of time. At the same time, people really don't know about marine sanctuary here. I would highly recommend going for a scuba diving in this area or on the Tarkali beach or Malvan beach, wherever the facility is there. And they would, I think, take you around for 10 minutes under the water. But there are types of fishes that you will see. There are types of corals that you would see. It would be really amazing experience. So while you're going to the Sindhurga fort and exploring the fort at the same time, I would say explore this underwater heritage.
Yeah, again, I think if we start to cover the forts in Maharashtra and along the coast of Maharashtra, it'll probably take a podcast series itself, right? No, I'm not even talking about an episode. So there's so many of them, and each one is
Absolutely.
very unique and very different. This one is almost like an island fort, you could say, right? The Sindhudurg fort, and even
Yeah.
the Malvan Marine Sanctuary that you're talking about, even that is very. I mean, you don't find a lot of these in India, you could say. I mean, even if they are, they're not as mainstream or as much spoken about. So that way, it is definitely a good way to check out some underwater forms of life. I believe corals and stuff like that are also there in the area. That's very interesting one. And I know you had mentioned about one other fort as well that has a interesting connection. This time, a little bit of a connection with science. Do you want to touch upon that too, Amruta?
Yes, I mean, if we are going in the same district and if we are going in the same places and if we don't mention of Vijay Durga Fort, it would be a crime. I mean, it would be a crime. So this fort basically was built in 1193, so approximately 12th century, and now what we are in 21st century.
Yeah.
800 years this fort lived, and very beautiful architecture. There are some, if you even take a glance on Google Map or place where you can have a bird's eye view, you can understand the expanse of that fort. You can understand how they have strategically thought where should be Bale Killa, which is epicenter of the fort, where should be the door, how people would attack and how people should not attack, how can we prevent these things. This will blow your mind. So definitely going to this fort, if you have time, then it becomes a must. But what interests me more is the helium day. So since I guess 2009, every year Vijayadurga Fort celebrates a helium day. It was believed that the discovery of helium happened here, but of course there are debates about this fact. But of course, why not explore a very unique connection
Yeah.
of scientific discovery with the 800-year-old
Yeah.
monument?
Yeah, definitely. A British scientist named Sir Joseph Norman Lockyer, apparently in 1868, during solar eclipse, he discovered helium, right? And
Yeah.
the controversy that Amrita is referring to, apparently at the same time, at that same solar eclipse, I guess, a French scientist also claimed to or lay claim to discovering helium in Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. So yeah, there's a little bit of a controversy there, but I told Amrita that hey, either way, it's in India, so it definitely deserves a shout out. So yeah, the second element in the periodic table for those of you who can go back to chemistry or wherever you learn this first, helium that is there in the periodic table that actually was discovered in India. So very unique fact there to add to the mix as well. Yeah, cool. I think we've done a bunch of exploring and discovery around. Anything more to add to this, Amrita, before I want to jump into the food and the cuisine of the region too? It's very, very unique and has a variety of things to offer. I want to jump into that, but anything else you want to call out before that?
Yes, a very interesting place.
Huh.
So we were talking about marine heritage, we were talking about architectural heritage, we talked about whatnot, and probably we'll be talking about the cuisine, food heritage. But there's a water heritage that I had mentioned earlier. So there's this place called Dhamapur Lake. The Dhamapur Lake was built around 1530. So basically, first half of 16th century. It's a 400-year-old man-made reservoir. It is World Heritage irrigation structure, which is as equivalent to World Heritage site, recognized structure. Very serene, tranquil location. The water is as clean as people use it for drinking till date. So one reservoir which was built 4 centuries ago is still giving drinking clean water to the village, and of course for vegetation and maybe for plantation. But one needs to understand the sustainability that 400 years ago our forefathers saw in this project.
Yeah.
It really blows my mind. And of course, go along with the local people here. They can help you explore, talk to people here, because they can take you through the nature trails and in and around this reservoir. But it's a beautiful, serene place to visit, and you can go any point of time in the year. It would be as beautiful as it would be in rainy season.
Yeah, 1530. Just to reiterate the fact,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, we tend to dumb things down or make or simplify things a lot when, like, mentioning that people or basically forefathers and generations before us, they were very simple human beings. I mean, they were, but again, you have to look at it from how enterprising and how creative they were about these things, also, right? Just imagine setting up
Yeah.
something that provides sustainable irrigation literally centuries ago, right? So,
Hmm.
again, a very important thing, and a UNESCO World Heritage irrigation structure, like Amruta mentioned. So, very unique place, and falls within the Sindhudurg district. And yeah, having said all of this, let's not forget about the food, right? We did mention in passing about the hapus or mangoes, right? And the Alfonsos and the other varieties of mangoes that are
Yes.
popular in the region, Malvania, hapus especially. But beyond that, the cuisine as well, very popular for being spicy and very unique. But again, I'm coming into this without a lot of information. So why don't you enlighten us and our listeners a little bit more about the cuisine of the region?
So people know that we are as in coastal area people use coconut a lot. So Sawantwadi definitely cuisine is not complete without coconut. But when we say coconut, it is usually referred in a South Indian way, which is of course a great cuisine and varieties of chutneys. But here in Sawantwadi, the take on coconut is way different. You can see fresh coconut in veggies. You can see fresh coconut in the kinds of dal we make here. You can see fresh coconut milk. I mean, it's everywhere, and people love coconut. And without coconut, the any food, like even day to day basis, food is not complete. So here I want to mention two things. In general, Konkan is like really amazing during two festivals. One is Ganpati festival, and the second one is Holi. It is differently explored here. There are various performances. Even performing arts in this area are amazing. You can see the performances of the Shautar. The whole town comes together for singing artis in Ganpati, or to see performances of the Shautar during Shimga. The Holi is called as a Shimga in this area, or Shimgotsav.
Okay.
So during this time, there's amazing food literally arrayed around. So as I said, coconut is integral part. Where I was coming at was modak. So
Uh-huh.
paddy fields and coconut come together in this amazing recipe. So modak is the outer cover of modak is made with the rice flour, and the inner fillings are made with jaggery and fresh coconut. I mean, I cannot in words describe the taste and how amazing these modaks are. This is a skill set. Making modak is a skill set in itself. So I would highly recommend people going around Ganpati time and relish this amazing dish. Also, you getting ticket to go to Sawantwadi around Ganpati time is as good as winning any international prize. So do that. The another thing which is very famous other than coconut is kokum,
Right.
or in scientific language it is called as Garcinia indica.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of tangy
Yeah.
fruit, and it is used in various sabjis and various dals also. So the take on dal here is bit different. The dal is a bit on sweeter, tangier side. It's not like a very spicy the way you will get in probably other parts of Maharashtra.
Uh-huh.
So it is used in dal, it is used in various sabjis, and the very famous thing which they make out of kokum is, one is of course kokum sarbat.
Uh-huh.
People are fan of it, and you can can it and you can take it from any of these parts. Kokum sarbat is famous, but the one which you shouldn't miss is sol kadhi.
Sure.
So, in the parts of Sindhurga district, kokum is also referred as a solar. So, basically, the outer cover of that fruit is dried with the sugar,
Uh-huh.
and the inner pulp is also used for sharbat and stuff. So, of that solar and the coconut milk coming together forms a soul curry. It is very yummy. It is very good for digestion. I mean, it is available everywhere, and especially if you are having fish here, it's a definitely paradise
Yeah.
for people who want to explore seafood. Crabs here are amazing, and me being from the Konkan region, I never knew that these many fishes people usually eat. So, as I was saying, you can go all around the year. So Ganpati is somewhere in August, September, where you can go and a monsoon season is about to and
Yeah.
explore, eat food. Also in monsoon season, there are various green leafy sabji. Which are there, which are locally made, which is not, you wouldn't see them on the hotel menus or anywhere. So takrachi bhaji, or there are some flowers, sabjis made out of those flowers. So if you can go and ask around, people would be really happy to source you that. So that thing in monsoon one should not miss. And if you're going in summer season, you are going in heaven for sure, because oh my god, how do I describe the taste of mangoes here? It's definitely, Alfonso is very famous. So Ratnagiri and Devgad are two varieties which are world famous, and I'm not joking about it. I'm dead serious about
Yeah.
these two things. But there are some other varieties like sakri amba, pairi amba, which are also great to have. So if you see, you will see people making curries out of these also. One of the curries called as a koyada, where people give a little bit of tadka, but not like full tadka. Like very few ingredients of tadka are used, and people eat it with eat like curry. So these varieties of mango and these various how do I say, the products made out of mangoes are up in summer season. You can also go for amba barfi, or you can go, there are kinds of amba barfi which are famous there, or there are things called sartar, which are like the flat dried mango pulp, where it's like you can eat it like a candy.
Okay.
So those things are there. Jackfruit is available in huge amounts, so we literally exploit jackfruit. So baby jackfruit sabji is must try. The full grown jackfruit, but yet not ripe jackfruit sabji is must try. When jackfruit is like fully done, then jackfruit sandan or फणसाचं सांदण is very famous. So I mean, you go gaga. I'm not
Yeah.
even touching yet cashew nuts
Yeah.
and like other things. So if you're in Sawantwadi, especially for vegetarians, I would recommend going in the Sadle Mess, which is exactly next to the Leicester Gate
Okay.
of the palace. If you want to have non-vegetarian things, then I would highly recommend Bhalekar Mess in Sawantwadi. And also, I was fortunate enough to meet Shraddha Raze and Lakham Raze, the prince and princess, the royal couple in Sawantwadi. They are also trained chefs. They are also coming up with the boutique
Okay.
hotel. So if you want to really have the view of the lake and Narendra Hill and relish on like amazing food, I mean continental food, that option is also now like there. So I guess I have covered.
You've covered enough, and I was just going to add that I skipped breakfast to make the time for this recording, and this is literally serving as appetizers for me. I think I'm going to go and binge on some stuff. I know it won't be as tasty as the Malwani or Sawantwadi cuisine that you mentioned, but yeah, I definitely need to go eat something now after listening to all of this. Right from the mangoes to things like sol kadhi, and obviously I don't have to speak much about the seafood, right? Within seafood, there's fish from the
Yeah.
sea, there's river fish, so there's so much different. And one recurring theme I saw across when I was trying to read up on the food also was that a lot of these places you eat, it feels like home cooked food, right? And you don't get that feeling of eating at a
Yeah.
restaurant or like at a place outside. It almost feels like home cooked food, very comfort food, you could say. Thank you so much again, Amruta, for giving us such a detailed tour and description and image of Sawantwadi. When I started to look up Sawantwadi and the areas around, right? Because when I started to look up, it did mention that this was the land of artists, which was very true. We saw that in the art forms, but even beyond that, the depth and the breadth that you have covered around the places within the Sindhudurg district and around Sawantwadi. Now, just in terms of any finishing thoughts, Amrita, do you want to give a shout out? Like I said earlier, we'll definitely make sure that we list Amrita's previous episode she did on Kolhapur, which is also another delight. So I'd highly recommend listeners to check that out. But any final thoughts before we wrap the episode?
Yeah, as you mentioned that the food is home cooked, the people here are the sweetest, I feel. So if you're going in like anywhere, be it Ubha Bazaar or be it Nirti Beach or be it anywhere, I mean, talk to people. They will tell you their part of stories, and which would be much more enriching than, probably the history book wouldn't even tell you the stories which they would tell. So I would highly recommend talking to the local people, and I vouch for their sweetness. They're very sweet. The language they speak, Malwani, is also very sweet to hear. So that's probably it. I mean, talk to people.
Absolutely. So it's not just the mangoes of Malvan and the areas around that sweet, it's also the people, right? So thank you so much on that wonderful and on that beautiful thought. Amrita, thank you again. Thank you so much. We're really honored. It's been a pleasure to have you back on the podcast. And like I said, you hopefully will be our expert on Maharashtra and all things Maharashtra. So we look to have you back on the podcast very soon. Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Thank you.
That was yet another great episode on the Musafir Stories. Make sure to show us some love by sharing the podcast with your friends and family. We are on Instagram and Twitter at Musafir Stories. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM podcast app or the website. Follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.